Ho ho ho! Happy XMas, agents! Santa here, welcoming you to this week's Ingress Insights podcast, hosted by Pokemon Trainer J. Ingress Insights is a podcast about the Niantic game Ingress. Listen each week for the latest news, updates, and rumors. Share comments on your podcast feed or on our socials in the show notes, and check the merch store out too. I've got you all on my nice list, so no Dark XM for you this year. I hear one agent has Fit Rep rewards on their Christmas list. I'll see what I can do. Ho ho ho! On with the show.
Hello agents, this is Pokemon Trainer G of Christmas Pass. The episode you're about to hear I recorded previously, so there'll be no news featured in it. It'll just be about a certain topic, whether Ingress related or not, just as part of the specials released over the festive period in 2024. Hope you enjoy and listen.
Ho ho ho! Happy XMas, agents! Santa here, welcoming you to this week's Ingress Insights podcast, hosted by Pokemon Trainer J. Ingress Insights is a podcast about the Niantic game Ingress. Listen each week for the latest news, updates, and rumors. Share comments on your podcast feed or on our socials in the show notes, and check the merch store out too. I've got you all on my nice list, so no Dark XM for you this year. I hear one agent has Fit Rep rewards on their Christmas list. I'll see what I can do. Ho ho ho! On with the show.
Additional intel available.
As I've discussed on the podcast, I did manage to attend the November 30th Shard Skirmish at Oxford. So what I'm doing in this section is to talk about what was involved in that. I might talk a little bit about like my travel there and things like that. But I just wanted to cover what I thought of it and let you know what's SitRep, OPSEC, and what I can and can't share going forward. But I'll cover what I can in this section. For those of you who haven't attended an anomaly before, there's generally a report like this would be called a SitRep, like a situation report to say what's happened, what's gone on there. It's where we get the name for FitRep from SitRep. Someone thought it was funny, obviously, at the time when they were making that for Ingress. Another important term you might hear when you're talking about skirmishes and faction things, faction events and bits like that, is OPSEC. So that means operational security, basically not letting the other team know what's going on. So as I said, there will be some bits that I can't share because they might be used in future anomalies by my team, the Enlightened. I don't want the Resistance to know certain ways that you operate and things like that. Similarly, if someone was talking about it from a Resistance standpoint, they wouldn't want to share necessarily what their team are up to and what's happening there. So I'll share what I can and just maybe talk about my travel there quite casually as well. But I hope you enjoy my Shard Skirmish SitRep. Firstly, with the Shard Skirmish, I want to refer back to Brighton, which is where I've attended the Echo Anomaly. So that's my experience of Anomaly so far, being Oxford and Brighton. For both of these, they were quite a long travel for me. I know some agents even fly over to anomalies. For me, this was basically 6 hours of travel on trains, which isn't great if you know the UK train infrastructure. And there were several delayed trains and trains that were full and having to catch later ones and missing connections. Not a great experience before getting there. Then when I arrived in Oxford, I was told that there was some football game going on. I don't do sports much, so wasn't aware of that. So there's increased police presence, so that was interesting to see on the first trip out of the station and getting to my location. I got told where to arrive for the anomaly, so I went to that location, arrived there and obviously sorted out and got things ready, made sure I had my inventory sorted and had enough bursters, shields, things like that. I'd say that's an important part of preparation beforehand to make sure you get rid of any portal keys you don't need for doing any links, as well as making sure you've got enough bursters. There may be a recommended inventory to have for the event that your group will communicate to you. And then after that, it was a case of waiting for action for a little while, waiting for more of our team to arrive. It was also quite humbling being recognised by a few people, even just by my voice, not necessarily my appearance. So it shows people have been listening to the show, and some people chatted to me about it, which was very nice, said bits they enjoyed, bits they didn't like. So nice to hear face-to-face feedback on the podcast. I also decided to use Zello for this anomaly, which was something I mentioned before, where agents use it as a kind of walkie-talkie system to have a secure channel to communicate messages to teams to say basically what they should be doing, whether they should be traveling to a portal, capturing something, doing something else. So whilst I didn't speak on Zello, I listened in, which was nice to see what was coming in and then understand a bit more about what was going on at the Echo anomaly for the people that were receiving messages there and leading those teams. It was very foggy and wet towards the end of it, and I remember traipsing down a canal path for the final waves of the portal and seeing a lot of other agents that I'd either knew the names of or recognised from my scanner, and it was very nice putting names to faces and seeing people even on the other team. And then I just wanted to cover some kind of general advice if you're traveling to Anomaly and being at an Anomaly as well. I know this wasn't an Anomaly, but I think a Shard Skirmish is sort of like a mini Anomaly from what I've seen. It's got the same kind of things involved. You still get the medal. So yeah, I think it's a mini Anomaly is what I'd say a Shard Skirmish is really. My main tip would be to take drinks with you and stay hydrated, so a bottle of water, snacks and things like that to keep yourself going during the anomaly, either before and after as well. Depending on your play style, some agents advise to go in dark, which means not hacking portals and playing Ingress basically until you're at the location, till the event started, so other agents don't necessarily know you're there. I didn't do that. I train station and stuff on the way in, so if anyone was watching they knew I was on the way. That's not a problem. Also, part of OPSEC and making sure you know which agents are which is ideally not talking about Ingress to people unless you know they're definitely your agents. You don't want to accidentally reveal something. One thing I found useful for this when people would be approaching, walking by when we were getting set up is probably not a suggestion some Ingress agents will like, but having Pokemon Go open and installed and playing that when people are going by so they think you're just a Pokemon Go player. Now that I've said it on the podcast, that probably ruins that strategy. But that's my usual strategy if I think someone is an Ingress player, to switch to another game and pretend I'm playing that rather than Ingress. After the Shard Skirmishes or Anomaly, things like that are finished, there's generally an after party that you'll be made aware of, and you can go there, meet other agents, drink and be merry, in short. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to attend the after party this time round as I had to dash off and get my train, but I'm hoping there'll be a more local Shard Skirmish or Anomaly or other event like that in the new year, so then I don't have to travel back as much or as long, and I can stay a bit longer. But yeah, that's my sit rep, I guess, and the main points of it are staying hydrated, make sure you've got good inventory, make sure you've got some snacks, make sure you're prepared with things like power banks as well. Take 1 or 3, it's ideal. And then obviously just have fun and make sure you do whatever you need to get the badge. Some agents didn't realise they needed to hack the shard portal on there. I think for my team that I was in, we managed to obtain 2 of the 5 shards that were part of the event. Similarly to Echo, it was lots of either blowing stuff up or recharging stuff and keeping it going whilst the other team are trying to battle against you. So to any outside person, it might look a bit weird that there's 10 or so people all gathered around tapping their phones, either going recharge, or deploy, or mod. But if you have access to Zello, I'd advise getting that just to at least listen in and hear any instructions, so you know what you should be doing at the portal and where you should be going. All in all, it was good fun, so quite happy to do one again. Like I said, hopefully with a bit less travel next time, but you can consider that the end of my sit rep. Thank you, agents, for listening to the latest episode of the Ingress Insights podcast. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do that on a few channels. So on Threads under the name ingress.insights, on Instagram under the name ingress.insights as well. Our Twitter/X, which posts episodes of the podcast, is under Ingress Insights, no dot in that one. And you can also watch these episodes on YouTube under Ingress Insights Podcast. You can send us a voice message by visiting the podcaster's Spotify page. And finally, you can buy Ingress Insights merch, such as mugs, pins, t-shirts, by going to freepublic.com/user/ingress-insights. And on there, you'll see all the designs we've got listed at the moment. There are some new ones that will be coming up at some point soon, but you can buy your Ingress Insights mug, hats, t-shirts, tote bags, anything like that you want. Thank you again for listening. Hope you tune in next week. If you do like the show, please do rate it on the podcast service you're listening to. I look forward to speaking with you all about Ingress again.
Intel package transferred.
Hello agents, in this brief episode we're going over what Niantic Supply is and where you can buy some great Ingress merch. So Niantic Supply, which is just at nianticsupply.com, is an official Niantic website where you can buy gear for Pokemon Go, Ingress, Peridot and general Niantic Supply stuff. So if you click on any of the buttons there, you'll be able to see the various products that they have. It's the go-to place for buying Ingress kits, so whether these are the X Series Origins kit or even Ingress apparel. So they sell things like glider gloves and 10-year anniversary stuff, an Epiphany Dawn tee, which I've got. And as I said, the various kits that come with cards and stickers and envelopes from the past. I particularly like the Clue one that comes with the toast pin. The Niantic Supply do ship all around the world. Their prices for shipping aren't fantastic, so do take caution and look into the shipping that it will cost you before you consider buying items. As I mentioned, there is also Pokemon Go merch that you can buy there. They do ones for their Go Fest every year, so you can go back to 2022 and still get shirts from then, as well as 2023 and 2024. I imagine there'll be one for 2025 whenever that gets announced. Peridot also has some items including a power bank and dot hoodies and enamel sets. Then if you really like Tin Dotty, which is Niantic's mascot, you can get pins for them in like Pumpkin Spice Dotty and various general adventuring hoodies. There's even a Truffle t-shirt, which is that even a thing now? I don't know. I'll probably cover that in another one of these. Niantic Supply do occasionally have discounts as well. So at the moment, as I'm looking at it, they've got up to 25% off all Ingress kits. So if you buy 4, you get up to 25% off. And then it's 10%, and the advert has just gone for me. So I'm doing that. 3 is 20%, sorry, and 2 is 10% off. So if you were considering getting them anyway for medals and the various patches and things like that you get in the kits, you can do that. But it's all directly from Niantic, so if you do want to support Niantic in a monetary way, you can do that. And then also get yourself some great Ingress gear. Just as a reminder, there's also the merch tab on the Ingress website, where there's even more merch that you can buy. That's via their Amazon.com and various Amazon stores, instead of from Niantic Supply. So there's a few options. Even before there was the merch tab on the Ingress site, there used to be a different website, which is shop.ingress.com, where you could buy anomaly related gear from there. That did shut down, but I will try and see if I can find a way back link to just show you what it looked like. Then, as I'm talking about merch in this episode, I'd be a bit remiss not to mention the Ingress Insights merch store, where I bet there'll be loads of money off over Christmas, because that's what tends to happen. So there's a few designs up on there at the moment, and that's just at tpublic.com/user/ingress-insights. If you search for Ingress Insights, it'll come up anyway. You'll be able to see the logos and things like that on there. I'm hoping to have a few more bits up in the new year. But that's all I really want to cover in this episode, just a little short one to say to buy official gear from Niantic Supply, and then also mention the merch tab and the previous Ingress shop that existed. So all that being said, I'll wrap up this very short episode and let you get back to all your festive fun. Happy hacking agents. Hello agents, in this episode I want to talk about one of Niantic's other apps called Pull. So you may or may not have heard of it. I can't blame you if you did. It was announced in November 2022, and I'm just going to go over the introduction post and then talk about it a bit more. On November the 17th, Niantic posted up a blog saying, "Love your city introducing Truffle." So that's Truffel. One of the most inspiring aspects of the Niantic journey has been just how much pride Niantic explorers take in showing off their community. Whether at an Ingress Mission Day, a Pokemon Go Fest, or a Pikmin Bloom Community Day, or any of the dozens of other events, it's easy to feel the love local players have for their city. For the last 18 months, a small team at Niantic has been working on a new app that focuses purely on that joy of discovering the hidden gems of the city and sharing it with friends, We call it Truffle. Truffle has its roots in our original field trip and in the hundreds of Niantic live events we've organised across the globe. With Truffle, we hope to open up that joy of exploration to folks that might not be so focused on games. It's got gaming elements for exploring and discovering for sure, but it's more of a shared map of your favourite places pinned together with your friends. Our premise is that your local friends are often a better source of where to go and what to do rather than some well-trained algorithm. One of our taglines is, your friends know where to go. We're just about ready to show you our work, starting with an alpha test of Truffle in December in Austin, Texas. We're calling it alpha because we want to grow and develop with our users, and many aspects of the app are still changing. If all goes well, we'll roll out more broadly in 2023. Want to check it out? Sign up at truffle.com to be notified when we roll Truffle out, or to participate in the Austin alpha test if you have to be in or around Austin. This post does contain a video link that I assume showed off what Truffle was, but the video link is no longer working. In addition, if you click the truffle.com link, it just redirects you back to Niantic's website. It doesn't have its own website anymore, hence why I'm curious as to whether the app's still alive and running. However, I will link to the App Store and Play Store where you can still download the app if you're in the United States. I don't know specifically in Austin, but looking at the App Store, the last update to it was version 1.1 15, and that had bug fix and polishes back in June 16th, 2023. So I've no idea whether it's still up and running. As I say, I can link to the App Store and the Play Store. You can download it yourself and see if that's something you do want to have a look at. I'm also going to go through Niantic's later blog post on March the 10th, 2023 about Truffle. In this second blog post, they wrote, Truffle, Niantic's new app that brings the city's hidden gems to life, launches in beta in Austin at SXSW. So previously it was in alpha, and then in March 2023 they declared it was in beta. Want to experience SXSW like an Austinite? Wondering where to find the best local cafe or the tastiest tacos? Truffle is rolling out in beta just in time for South by Southwest, off festival goers the best local experience while in town. Truffle is currently available as an Austin experience, but will be rolling out to additional cities in future. You can download it free on app stores and sign up with an invite code, which I believe was SXSW. Truffle is an adventure where you and your friends explore the world together. We believe every city has special places and hidden gems that make you unique. We want to help people discover, experience and share them with their friends. Since November last year, over 1,000 early explorers have truffled around Austin, bringing the city's hidden gems to life. Truffle brings together our expertise and our passion for AR, geolocation and community into a single app to help people find and experience the best cities have to offer. The app, which is powered by a shared map, allows you and your friends to pin places you visit and love, or truffles, and earn badges as you explore. You can also bookmark your truffles to a list and share it with your friends. They then share off some of Austin's top truffles, being Secret Beach, Kansas Tacos, and Cafe Medici. Truffle is part of Niantic's efforts to explore new kinds of applications for real-world AR. We've learned a lot from the feedback of alpha tests in Austin last year, and we're thrilled to be bringing an updated experience back to the city to continue improving Truffle. To celebrate, we'll be hosting our Truffle Beta launch party on March the 10th from 5pm to 8pm at Fairground Austin. We're looking forward to bringing Truffle to a city near you with your help. If you wish to be an explorer in your town, sign up to notified at truffle.com. As I mentioned, that no longer works. And to stay up to date on the latest news, follow us over at Truffle Talk across all social channels. Happy truffling the Truffle team. I'm not sure truffling really works as a sentence, as a word even, but that's what they decided to go with on there. I just wanted to talk about, they mentioned the Truffle Talk social media. So there is still a Truffle Talk Instagram page that's got 60 posts on and says in development. And it links to their Discord, which isn't active. I don't think there's been a post there for years. But as I said, you can still get the app and use the app. So I'm not sure whether it's an active development, whether Niantic forgot to turn it off, especially when they turned off various other things like Marvel World of Heroes and trading posts, and they just kind of left Truffle in a bit of a limbo. You can still find the Truffle Beta Help Center as well. So there's questions there about when it will be available in my area and what's happening with it, and the notification how you invite friends. These do all link back to the official Truffle website, which again just links back to nianticlabs.com, so you can't really do much with it. And the articles were last updated about 650 days ago. I don't know what's going on with the app. Niantic, if you know and you want to just say it's over, that's absolutely fine. You are allowed to kill off apps, you do it all the time. But I'm not really sure what they want to achieve here Truffle seems like a good idea. Someone else has already done it. There's Foursquare and Swarm that have beaten users to this, where you don't have a AR or anything in it, but there is a shared map and lists and things like that, and tips that you can leave to help others find great locations. Even outside of that, if you're just looking for hotels and stuff, there's obviously websites like TripAdvisor and all those various things, but I think the closest thing that I'd describe Truffle Talk is Foursquare, but with extra bits no one really asked for. Foursquare, you can get badges and things like that based on where you visit, what you do. That's a nice little thing that it seems like Truffle was trying to emulate, but I'm not sure it fits in or has any use. And obviously, it's not progressed further than its Austin beta, so it seems to be abandoned, but you can still download it. So maybe it's just a case of waiting for Niantic to finally turn it off. Hopefully they will do it at some point. But if you are interested in exploring what Truffle is and you're in the US, you can download it on those App and Play Store links, and then let me know if there's anything that I've missed. Maybe it's suddenly had a resurgence I'm not aware of. As far as I can tell, it's just waiting to be turned off though. I just want to finish up with Killed by Niantic's view on it. So they write, Truffle, March 2023, not dead yet. Niantic launched Truffle at SXSW 2023 and described it as Niantic's new app that brings a city's hidden gems to life. It's as if they merely blew the dust off the field trip, their earlier virtual tour guide application for recommending nearby landmarks and other points of interest, and gave it a fresh coat of paint. When Niantic cancelled Field Trip, they hinted that a reimagined version of Field Trip could return one day. Like Field Trip, Niantic has yet to do much to market Truffle. It's essentially gone unnoticed by the public. Between November and December of 2023, Niantic changed Truffle's website. Initially, they'd instructed users to visit truffle.com to get on the app's waiting list. However, the website has now been redirected to Niantic's main website with no reference to Truffle. Despite this, the Truffle app is still available for download on app stores. That's all from me for this time on this one. Is Truffle dead, still alive, still going? No idea, but I just thought I'd mention it. Was an app that exists, kind of, sort of. So let me know if you've ever used it or if you never heard of it before I've mentioned it on this podcast. So thanks again for listening to this little episode. Happy hacking, agents. Hello, agents. This time around, I just want to share some general tips for playing in winter when it's cold. It's getting cold here, certainly in the UK. We've had a bit of snow already, but mostly lots of rain because the UK. So my first tip would be to have sensible footwear for when you're going around so you're not slipping over on black ice and things like that. Then that's followed by basic thing that your mum probably always told you to do, of wrap up warm. Make sure you've got jumper, coats, obviously one with lots of pockets. You can carry power banks with you for when you need that if you're doing scans and your battery starts to run a bit low. Mentioning battery, one of my tips would be to keep an eye on your battery level, because extreme heat and extreme cold can affect phone batteries quite badly. So you may see your phone dropping a lot more than you used to. So having those power banks on hand is definitely something I'd advise. You also don't want cold hands, so you can buy a variety of touchscreen gloves that work pretty well. You can still actually access your phone on them. In the UK, I think you pick up a pair of gloves now for £4 or £5 that are touchscreen, so you can still do all your glyph hacking and everything like that on Ingress. Thinking as well about ores you may have to get to that are a bit more tricky. It's only a game, do take care. Don't walk across any frozen lakes, things like that you wouldn't do normally. It doesn't get cold enough here to freeze lakes that much, but I'll share a personal anecdote that I do remember sliding around a lake in Chicago, and I lived there for a little while. That was definitely very, very frozen. Maybe not the safest thing looking back, but I had more confidence it was frozen in Chicago than I would a lake being frozen in the UK. Another thing I try and do during winter if I'm going on a long walk is carry a warm drink with me. So I'll make a coffee or something before I head out and put it in a reusable cup. Take that with me, and then I've got it to keep myself warm on the inside as well as the outside. That's all it really was for this time around, as we're now on Christmas Eve. So the year's starting to get to the end already. I believe it's flying by that quick. If you have any other tips yourself for playing Ingress in winter, keeping safe in winter or cold climates, maybe playing Antarctica where it's always cold, then I'd love to hear those. Do share them in the comments or send me emails, do all the usual social media stuff. It'd be great to hear from you all. Have a great Christmas Eve and happy hacking. Hello, agents. First of all, before I get into the episode, happy Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas and those who don't. Hope you enjoy whatever festivities you're celebrating. What I wanted to go over this time was, as it's the season of giving, was the last time Ingress tried to do some good in their Missions for Good campaign, as that's now 10 years old. It was started back on the 8th of December 2014. As their Google Plus and everything like that's now down, the only place this has been able to find this is on Facebook, so I'm going to read through the post there. So they say, create hashtag missions for good to support local charities, and together we can spread XM and goodwill. We've been inspired by agents organising cross-faction events to raise funds to local charitable organisations and coordinate food drives. Verified agents level 8 and above can create a mission at ingress.com/missions using portals or at nearby your local charities like food banks and donation centres, and include the Missions for Good hashtag in your mission title. You can use the following image as your mission medal. That link now doesn't work, but it's the image for the podcast. While out hacking, we encourage you to donate cans of food or new and gently used clothing. If there are no portals nearby to use in your mission, submit a new portal for your local charitable organisation and include the hashtag missions for good in your portal description. Happy hacking, and have the missions for good hashtag yet again. Missions for Good was before my time started playing Ingress, so whilst I've heard it worked out really well and got lots of people involved doing missions, doing lots of charity donations, when I came into the game, I was a bit confused when I saw some basic charity shops and things like that on the map where they just had the description of hashtag missions for good with no context for me coming into it years later, wondering what was going on. I think this also confuses things in newer games such as like Pokemon Go, Monster Hunter, things like that, where they see the same thing and then people will think they are eligible and they should be nominating, like say, a basic charity shop, a food bank, things like that, when they were only added to the game so that people could create their missions for good. So I think it's very confusing. I've seen a few threads before where people are asking about whether they're eligible because they're already on the map, which is a big enough problem in itself, from coal and stuff like that getting through to the map and people thinking X is eligible because something similar to it appeared on the map. I haven't seen anything from the Ingress team regarding Mission for Good or food drives or anything like that. However, I know that there was a recent food drive for one of the Pokemon Go community days, I think in November of 2024, where those attending were encouraged to bring food, and the community leader, ambassador, I can't remember what they're called for Pokemon Go, would go and donate it to the relevant food bank or charity shop. That seemed to go down well, but then at the same time I wondered about the community leader, whatever they're called, being loaded down with a bunch of cans, things like that, when I know local churches have done food drives. There's a lot of stuff that is given, so if you've got 40-50 players turning up all with a few cans and bags of food, it's going to be a lot of stuff to carry back. But if it's helped people out, that's always great. As for missions for good, I don't know how well Ingress think it worked and whether they have an issue with the portals still being on the map that are not eligible anymore via Wayfarer standards for many of them. I also don't know how the Wayfarer team feels, whether that interferes with their goals, whether it interferes with Pokemon Go's goals. For me, they've never sat quite right. I've always been of the bit more extreme option of delete all the mission for good portals, but then obviously that gets rid of all the missions for good missions, and people do need the missions to complete for Second Sunday and other badges, things like that, and maybe it's the only one they've got in their area. But I definitely think someone somewhere should just take another look at them, see if they still meet criteria, and if not, remove them. But obviously other people want them to stay, they don't want their portals being removed, or if they're in other games, don't want their Pokestops removed. I will link to the post for the missions for good, so you can read through there and see the details, and if you have the mission creator, you can always look around and see what's on the map already under that hashtag, or see if there's any local area that you know are now at least 10 years old. As I said, it was on the 8th of December 2014 for this post. That was about it for this episode. It was just a bit of a looking at missions for good, what it was, whether it's still of use now, and how Niantic is still doing the little food drives, things like that, every now and again. They don't seem to be doing it every time. I know they do other green initiatives like tree planting as well. maybe they decided that's a bit easier to do. That was all from me for this time, so hope you have a great Christmas and festive period, agents, and I hope you remember to get in your daily hack today, after lunch, before lunch, Christmas dinner, things like that. Just make sure you open your phone, do your hack, carry on with your streak, and then get back to speaking with your family, friends, whoever you've got over. Again, have a great day. Happy hacking. Hello, agents. This time around, I want to talk about all the Niantic games I play that are not Ingress. So I have any Ingress related stuff in this episode. I'm going to start off first of all with Peridot.
Hey, this is Asim, Global Product Marketing Lead for Peridot, and you're listening to a special episode of Ingress Insights.
It made sense for me to bring back Asim's intro for that part. So Peridot, if you haven't played it, is Niantic's AR pet raising game, where you go around, raise a pet that's called a dot, it's a Peridot, and you level it up by feeding it, make it do a trick, raise it as a little virtual pet, all in AR. AR is on all the time in this game. I do have an episode where I've spoken with Asim about Peridot, and there's a bit more detail in there. For my own gameplay in Peridot, at the minute I'm level 34, and my main aim in, I think it is, try and get lots of the chaos traits and named after Ingress things. So there's already a chaos trait named Enlightened, Resistance, Machina, Ingress Insights, Link Possible, things like that. In the game, you go through and get different generations of dots. So I'm now on my 22nd generation of dots. I know some people are on like hundreds and hundreds. I don't think I'd get that far. One of the interesting things you do is fight against blighted dots. So these are basically enemy dots that appear on the map. And the way that you defeat them is by drawing circles around them, which is reminiscent of Pokemon Ranger and games like that to me. Once you've captured them, you can then breed your dot with them to get the certain traits that they have, because they'll generally be rarer ones that you want to get. One thing I do enjoy in Peridot is that during Pride Month you get a lot of free Pride dots that are appropriately coloured for the season. So if you're not spending at all, then you can get the free dots on there, which is nice to have a blend of dots to choose from. At the minute, the current maximum level in Peridot is level 70, and I'm saying I'm level 34, so I've got a little way to go, but it is nice to get nests and other updates from leveling up. Previously, when the game first launched, the nests were basically sold for £5 and you couldn't progress in the gameplay loop without spending that money. So that has now changed if that did put you off before. I think that's about it on Peridot, so I'm going to move into Pokemon Go as the next one on my list. I do try as much as possible not to mention Pokemon Go, as it's an Ingress podcast, but for these episodes, because they're a bit of an experiment and see if people like them, then it makes sense to talk about my progress in that game. Pokemon Go, if you don't know, is wandering around capturing Pokemon as you walk around on the Niantic map, spinning Pokestops, doing gym battles, and various other things that I won't get into. For my progress on it, at the moment I'm level 45, the maximum level is 50 at present. I was stuck at level 44 for ages with certain tasks that took me a while to do. I don't like the battling in it, and you had to do a certain amount of battles, I think, and a certain amount of Team Rockets, which are the evil things in the game. I do have a decent amount of XP, so I think I'm at 10 million. I need 15 million to level up. I've already done the tasks that are associated with this level, so like Ingress, where you need the badges, Pokemon Go past level 40 you need to do certain tasks as well as have the XP to level up. I did take a brief glance at my Pokedex before I record this in Pokemon Go. I'm on 860 Pokemon caught and 870 seen, so I've seen a few things in gyms and such that I can't catch, like Bouffalont and Klefki that I missed when I went to Brighton. I totally forgot about playing Pokemon that time. For those who do play Pokemon, I'll just mention this, I'm not going to get into it for those that don't, but I'm still on 0 Shundo since starting the game on day 1, if that means anything to anyone listening. I think that's all I really want to say about Pokemon Go, so I'm going to move on now to Pikmin Bloom as well. Pikmin Bloom is a bit more of a casual game compared to this, so there's no like competitiveness battling against each other. It's just a nice, easy walking tool. So you can walk around, plant flowers and get those to bloom, get the nectar from them to feed your Pikmin and walk around, hatch more Pikmin. They do tempt FOMO in their game by having limited time costumes like pumpkins for Halloween, playing cards, things like that the Pikmin come with. And obviously having a collection so you can see which ones you don't yet have. For my level in Pikmin Bloom, I'm currently level 80. Level 100 is the maximum at the moment. I don't know if you get anything hitting level 100. I'm on about 9 million steps since getting Pikmin. I need to plant another 74,000 flowers to level up. You don't gain anything major from leveling up. There's no like boost or anything like that, or getting a rarer Pikmin. It's just a slog in levels. You don't necessarily get rewards even past a certain level. One thing I do enjoy in Pikmin is there's weekly challenges you can do with your friends. So you do a collaborative effort to walk a certain amount of steps, plant a certain amount of flowers, and you can also do party walks. I've mentioned Brian Rose's party walks. These are all collaborative and not competitive, although I do like when I've come out on top and walked the most steps. I never end up being the one that's done the most flowers in my group, but I do pretty well on the steps because I'm walking around for Ingress and other things too. Then I think finally I'll get into the latest Niantic game, which is Monster Hunter Now. Before I do get into Monster Hunter Now, I'll just mention one of my fellow Wayfarer ambassadors, Sarah Mander, does a Monster Hunter Now podcast. It's called MHN Cast, a Monster Hunter Now podcast, which you can find on various podcast services. So if you're interested in the game, I'd advise you listen to that. Then for my progress in Monster Hunter, I'm currently Hunter rank 117. Again, don't get any rewards or anything like that now. I think 300 is the maximum, so I'm way off that. For the gameplay, it's slaying monsters, as it tends to say. It's very similar in style to The Witcher Monster Slayer, but you do it from a third party perspective in the fight. And you can switch your weapons to like sword and shield, bowgun, heavy bow, switch axe, things like that. They all have different skills and abilities, different elements. And when you're battling away at monsters, they'll have different elemental weaknesses, or you can opt for having a weapon that has no element to it. So it's all about being strategic, attacking at the right time, dodging at the right time, blocking at the right time, using potions, using meat that you can cook. It's a nice little fun game. I don't think I'm super involved in it. I always forget to open it when I'm going out in comparison to the other apps. As you increase in rank in Monster Hunter Now, you'll battle harder monsters. So at the moment I'm battling like 7 and 8 star monsters, which is nowhere near the highest you can battle, but it's the highest I can do at the moment with my equipment. And as mentioned, there's a range of weapons like axes, charge blades, things like that you'd expect from the Monster Hunter series if you know it. However, I've just stuck to generally using sword and shield mainly because I find them useful. I do try and experiment with other weapons now and then when they're required by tasks, but generally stick with sword and shield. That's it for the other Niantic games that I play. I think it's all of the Niantic games as well. So obviously we've had ones like Harry Potter Wizards Unite, Tarn World Explorers, Marvel's game that I now can't remember the name off the top of my head, and Transformers Heavy Metal. They've all since closed or stopped before they even got released. There is the episode with HP Woo Lola where we talk about memories of Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Who knows, there may be Tarn, Marvel or Transformers episodes in future. There are the other apps that aren't games in the Niantic space, so there's the Wayfarer app, which has been demised on Android and shortly be demised on iOS, I imagine, when that runs out in a few days. There's Scaniverse for doing scans of wayspots and other things where they give away money for getting certain scans in. They want to map the real world. Then finally we have the definitely underused for Ingress of Campfire, where you can access official groups and place groups on the map and see events, things like that are happening. It was especially handy for things like Pokemon Go to see the gyms, the raids, the Pokemon playgrounds, things like that. I just wish the Ingress map actually did anything. It'd be nice to know where all the overclock portals are at a quick glance on that map. But for now it doesn't really do a lot, and there's a lot of spam in the Ingress group that nobody seems to care about, unfortunately. But that's it from me for this episode. I just wanted to go through briefly the other Niantic games I play and the level that I am in those. If you want to let me know the level you're at in any of the Niantic games, you can leave a comment either on your podcast service or on YouTube. It'd be great to hear and see how you're progressing and what your goals are. As I said, that's it from me. So happy hacking agents. Hey agents, this time around I'm going to go over some non-Niantic games that I play on mobile. Previously I spoke about my progress on like Peridot and other games like that, so just for this section I'm going to talk about the non-Niantic games I regularly play, and then just tell you a bit about them and whether you should be playing them. I'll start off with Pokemon Masters EX. So this is a game where you collect Pokemon trainer pairs, so a Pokemon trainer and their partner Pokemon, which in the game are called sync pairs. You collect sync pairs and level them up, do battle with other people, go through the storyline. It's a good little time waster battler, and you get to collect your favourite trainers if you play various games. So if you want, I know, Annabelle from the Battle Frontier, or the latest Team Star members from Scarlet and Violet, they're in the game. At the moment, I'm rank 111 in the game, and I've got 279 sync pairs. Some of them are the same trainer with a different Pokemon, so you get like Gary with Pidgeot and Gary with Arcanine, for example. In the game, trainers work at rank, so usually they start at rank 3 to 4 to 5, and then after rank 5 you can level them up to EX rank, which is why it's Pokemon Masters EX. After that they generally have a costume change, they'll change to fit the colours of their Pokemon better, or just have a different colour scheme entirely. For someone like Ball Guy from Pokemon Sword and Shield, changes to a Great Ball instead. As I say, it's nice if you appreciate the lore and the story of all the Pokemon games to get into that, but if you're not that bothered, you may not get that much enjoyment out of it. So I'll go on and talk about a non-Pokemon title next. The next one I meant to mention is Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery. This is a game that I alluded to during my interview with HP Lola, talking about Wizards Unite and the other mobile games that were available. Best way of describing this one is it's a visual novel story game with lots of mini games. So you start off like 7 years before Harry Potter starts at school in Hogwarts as a new student, and you go through, level up your stats, go through the story, do side quests, do limited time side quests, friendship quests, things like that. The story is okay. It's not written by J.K. Rowling at all, but there's it takes influence from what she's written. I've seen via various looking around LinkedIn that it was written previously by someone that wrote WWE storylines, so I expect those to be pretty good, but then some chapters can be pretty weak in what's going on. For me at present, I'm level 98, not that the levels really do anything at all. It's more focused on your stats, so at the moment all my stats are 51, and I'm in chapter 47 of year 7, which is the final year in Hogwarts, but they do now have a beyond story for things that happen after that. And then year 7 has 60 chapters in it, which is a bit mental. Where I'm currently at in the story is there's a character called Merilla, if that's how you pronounce it, who says she's the most powerful witch of Hogwarts. She's made an unbreakable vow, and recently found out that your character's father is the leader of an evil organisation. Yeah, that's a bit about that game. I originally started playing it to learn how to do spells better for Harry Potter's Unite, so the spells and stuff that you do in the Dueling Club, like Flipendo, were the same as they were in that game. So I thought, I'll play this game, get a bit more experience, and then get better at that. And obviously, Harry Potter's Unite has now ended. I'm still playing this story. I'll see if I'm still playing it once I finish all the years off and see how that goes. Now that I'm going through this list, I realise all of these are based off existing IPs. So I move on to the next one, which is Family Guy: The Quest for Stuff. Hopefully most people are consciously aware of what Family Guy is, even a little bit. This is a city builder, character collector game, the kind of genre that was popular about 10-11 years ago when this game started off. At the minute in that game, I'm the highest level I can be. Again, levels don't really do anything. They follow the usual thing of these games where they have events on each week, so you're more pressured to get the characters, get them unlocked, get the right things for them. At the moment they are repeating events, so they've not had any new events since like 2022, I want to say, or maybe it was 2023. So they're currently running through repeating events, so if you've not had a chance to play before, now could be a good time to get started on it and get the characters and start participating in the events. The event characters don't seem to be much use outside of the events, unfortunately, so they are used for mainly getting more characters via something called the Quahog Historical Society, where you send characters off to earn coins, then exchange those for more characters. So it's a continual loop on that. As I said, it's been around for 11 years now, and other games similar to it, like The Simpsons Tapped Out, Future Worlds of Tomorrow, have closed down. So I don't know how long this game's realistically got left and whether it will get future investment. It did previously have events that were written by the Family Guy episode writing staff. Whether it will get new events in the future, I don't know, but say it's all on a loop at the moment and just repeating things, so you can always jump in and collect those characters in that game. To Pokemon now briefly, so there's a game called Pokemon Sleep, which is a sleep tracking app, though they say it's not reliable for that and shouldn't be used as a proper sleep tracker. It's more of a game based around it, where you tell your device you're going to sleep. You can use the Pokemon Go Plus, an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, other fitness devices to have a sleep, and then basically wake up and you get Snorlax that's surrounded by Pokemon, feed them, get them as your partner Pokemon. They'll gather ingredients which you can then feed to Snorlax and then get a rarer Pokemon, and work in that kind of gameplay loop on there. It's alright as a game when you've got the Pokemon Go Plus or another fitness track for going to sleep. It works pretty well. I'm not sure it works so well when you have to actually hit the sleep button in the game and go off to sleep there. And there's interesting Pokemon that keep getting added. It's getting expanded all the time because there's not every Pokemon in it from the start, similar to Pokemon Go. And they also do holiday events with hatted Pokemon, similar to Pokemon Go as well. And there are shiny Pokemon available in it, so some people chase those shiny Pokemon. Some people chase getting certain recipes and stuff like that perfected. I've been playing it a little less recently because my Pokemon Go Plus was out of action, but I've been using my watch to try and track my sleep on there that I do anyway and getting the results that way. But I do have to check on it every 3 times a day, so there's 3 time periods for like breakfast, lunch and dinner to feed Snorlax. I often forget, so haven't been leveling up maybe as much as I should have done. I think I'm at rank 50 at the moment, and I play since it started, so there's people that will be way higher level than I am. Much like I'm a Wayfarer community ambassador at the minute, I'm currently a community ambassador for the next game that I'm going to talk about. And I have been for quite some time on this one, so this is How to Train Your Dragon Rise of Berk. Obviously the live action movie is coming out relatively soon, so they'll expect an uptick in downloads and people playing this game. Similar to the Family Guy game, it's a city builder where you're building up Berk, and the characters collecting are the various dragons. There's almost 800 dragons, I think, and I've got about 750 or so of them. And there's also the legendary dragons such as the Screaming Death and the Green Death and the Super Ripper to collect. And they give you various boosts as well to like battle, because you'll battle against Drago from the How to Train Your Dragon 2 film as part of the modes in that. But similar to the other games, it's a fun like gather resources, use the resources to build new things, get new dragons, send Toothless off searching, send Light Fury off searching if you have that. As the Defend Berk section is quite fun, where you send dragons out to battle Drago's ships, and then you are able to exchange 4 Defender dragons, the ones that he uses in the movie, where they've got all the metal bits on them. You can then use those dragons in battle as well, and they're generally stronger in battle than the regular counterparts. I will share a link for this one to the Reddit where you can read through, and the people in the subreddit share helpful tips on how to get certain dragons, how to get a good start on there. For myself, because I'm kind of in the end game of it, there's not much for me to do, but I do dip in and get the new dragons when they're available and look at new costumes, things like that. But I do enjoy that one. I do like going back to it and collecting all the dragons, seeing what's new. Then next, another IP that's from around the same time as Pokemon is Yu-Gi-Oh! So there's a game called Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. This is kind of similar to Pokemon Masters EX, where you gather characters and get their decks, battle against other people. If PvP, you can do obviously fighting the storyline, going through the events on there to unlock characters, and they've got all the various Yu-Gi-Oh worlds. So starting with the first one to like 5Ds and the performance one, I can't remember, with pendulum summoning. So I don't know how to do pendulum summoning off the top of my head, but it does tell you in game how to do that, how to link summoning and whatever the new kinds of summoning types are. So it's very user friendly, I would say, and teaching you how to do all the things. And then if you've ever watched the anime, it's a case of getting those characters on there. I'm still personally waiting for them to add darts and the characters from that season of Yu-Gi-Oh! That haven't been added in yet. Whether they will come in, because I don't think it was technically canon to the manga and things like that, which I think this is more based on, then I don't know. But they're still getting new updates, adding new characters. The game's been out for ages, and they're still adding things in. So if you jump into that one, there'll be a wealth of characters to go through and get, plus doing the events to get the exclusive characters they add in there. For the penultimate one, back to Pokemon again, with a game called Pokemon Magikarp Jump. This game is free, as all the games on here are that I've mentioned. However, the benefit to this one is you don't need Wi-Fi to play it, so you can play it anywhere, go through and train your Magikarp up to be the best jumper in the region, and battle against other Magikarp doing that thing. It's not a PvP situation, it's just purely going through the ranks and championships in the main storyline. As I say, it's a great thing that doesn't need Wi-Fi, and you can go around and collect shiny Magikarp, different Magikarp patterns, trigger events. So it's very useful for situations where you've got no Wi-Fi, or maybe you've got children that want to play a game and you don't want them to use your Wi-Fi. You can let them play Magikarp Jump. They can't really do much wrong there, apart from getting your Magikarp eaten by a Pidgeot if it jumps the wrong way, or get blown up by a Voltorb. That's one of the events as well. I've used it a lot when I've had no signal and want to play something quick. I don't have my DS or anything like that with me, so I'd recommend that one to download even if you're not going to play it straight away. The final game I want to talk about is actually Sunset. So it's one that I used to play quite a lot, so I wanted to mention it on here. It's made by the same people who make the Family Guy game and the Dragon's Rise of Bert game. It was a game called Futurama Worlds of Tomorrow, and it's the reason I started using Reddit and Discord back in the day. Similar to the other two titles, it's a character collector / city builder where you rebuild New York and collect characters like Professor, Amy, Zap, Kif, Nibbler. It also had events going on and a PvP element for some of them. Unfortunately, it did seem to get abandoned when Hogwarts Mystery came out, and lots of team got moved onto that, and there were various layoffs, and then finally it did get closed in 2023. I think I put a lot of hours into it and leveled up my characters a lot. It was a grind fest for getting characters beyond rank 3 and rank 4, and getting them all the way to level 100 took literally like days and days of grinding through level maps. I'd like to see it come back, but I don't know if it would fit the current game market in how it played out. Like I said, the Family Guy one's still sticking around. Simpsons tapped out its finishing. So whilst I loved the game, I don't know that it would fit well in coming back. As I said, I've not really played it obviously this year or recently, but I did want to mention Futurama Worlds of Tomorrow in here. Hoping that I get to talk to someone that was involved in the game at some point in 2025. If you look on the Futurama Worlds Tomorrow subreddit, there are some interviews I did with one of the writers of Futurama and one of the influencers for the game, as well as one of the voice actors for original characters that were in the game. So I'll link to that and you can listen to that as well. But that's about all I've got, so I'm going to get wrapped up and then get you back out listening. So hope you have a great day. Happy hacking, agents. Hey agents, this time around I just want to go over 3 properties, IPs, games, whatever they were going to be, that were cancelled by Niantic, that I've not had anyone on to discuss them with so far this year. So previously I've had episodes with HP Lola about Harry Potter Wizards Unite, Smooth Guy O about NBA All World, and even The Witcher Monster Slayer, which isn't a Niantic property, to discuss that, as well as obviously Peridot, which is a live IP property at the moment for Niantic, but I was just thinking about Sunset ones. Maybe I'll cover these in future episodes, but I want to just go over them briefly in this one, just to say they did exist and what I played of them. So that's what I'll do next. First up is one that I didn't play and no one really played because it never came out. This was one that was announced back in June 2020, so during the pandemic. So it was announced on Niantic's blog post. They said, recently we've asked ourselves, what if we were the lead characters in an epic adventure movie? A new collaboration with Punch Drunk might be the answer. Today we're thrilled to announce a multifaceted partnership with Punch Drunk, the pioneers of immersive theatre and creators of Sleep No More. Punch Drunk has placed audience at the centre of their performances in the real world for 20 years and are renowned for creating multi-sensory experiences on an epic scale. Together we're developing multiple projects that will reinvent storytelling for a 21st century audience and further expand the horizon of interactive entertainment. Felix Barrett, artistic director of Punch Drunk, said, it's hugely exciting to be joining forces with the preeminent AR company in the world. At Punch Drunk we create richly cinematic 3D worlds where audiences can explore, touch and smell the environment, where the boundaries between reality and fantasy are indistinguishable. Those that you've seen like Sleep No More often liken the experience to how it might feel to walk into a video game. What happens if you take that sense of adventure into the real world, tear down the walls and the world becomes your stage? I believe Punch Drunk and Niantic can create something that's never been done before. They do it in AR, we do it in real life. Collide the two and I think will blow people's minds, bend the rules of genre and redefine the norms of mobile gaming. This was a project that was known as Hamlet and it was cancelled in June 2022. So it was leaked to the press that Hamlet was among 4 projects that were cancelled by Niantic. However, Punch Drunk do still list Niantic as a partner that they have, so whether there's something else they have going on, I don't know, but it seems the original idea they had got cancelled back in June of 2022 when various games did get bumped off, unfortunately. The next one I wanted to bring up was Tan World Explorers, so this was released in July 2020 and then sunset in November 2021. So for anyone that's played Catan, it was similar to that, collecting brick, lumber, grain, ore and wool and trading it with people on the map to then build up your settlement and get a better score. There were various teams you could join, the scores you get on there. You rolled dice to try and get resources as well. It was a good little game, but it was only released in a few beta countries. If you somehow got hold of a version of it and installed it, you could set up a personal settlement or golden settlement, I think it was called, so you could kind of play the game even though the map wasn't active in your area. It was eventually cancelled because I think the makers of the board game of Catan said it didn't feel like Catan, which is kind of fair, but I'm not sure what they were anticipating. I like the dice rolling elements in it and building up the settlements, they were nice, but unfortunately they decided it wasn't the direction they wanted to go in and it got bumped off in November 2021. Then the last one I want to cover is one that I was able to play after installing it and play properly. This was Transformers Heavy Metal. So it didn't work where I'm based in the UK. However, it did work in London. And as I had to visit an office in London during the time it was out, I was able to play it when I went there. So Transformers was, as it implies, collecting Transformers. You went around and collected mini-cons on the map, which added to your of attacks. You were playing like a card game almost against the enemy Transformer, trying to decide on the best moves to use, whether to defend, whether to attack, whether to try and steal health, plant a bomb. Various actions you could take depending on the mini-cons you'd collected and the decks you'd built up and the Transformers you'd collected. The battles themselves worked pretty well when they were flowing, but it also felt a bit repetitive collecting the same mini-cons now and then. There was an element of a walking capsule thing that I can't remember the full details of. I know you put in a key and it had something, but this was a little while ago now because it went live in June 2021 and got cancelled in June 2022, so fortunately didn't last too long. Their forums were quite active. I remember participating in them quite a lot, and they had grand ideas, it seemed, because it was done by a team at Very Very Spaceship, who seemed very on board with the idea, and then unfortunately Hasbro cancelled it off. It didn't happen, didn't go further. Agents for these last few episodes will be more casual for the things I'm going to cover. So as mentioned when I did these trailers, not much Ingress stuff in these, so this part I'm going to get into some console games I regularly play. So rather than mobile or Niantic, it's everything else basically. So I'm going to start by covering some games that I play on the PlayStation, which is not many. Mostly I play handheld games because it's easier for me at the moment. So I'll get into the long list of those after this. So to start with, I've been playing quite a lot of Mortal Kombat 1, which is not the first Mortal Kombat for those who are following along with the story. It's a kind of reset, reboot to it all. I'm suck at doing the combos, things like that. I'm just playing because I'm okay at it and I remember it from previous games, but I'm terrible online. I tried that a little bit. However, the kind of standout for me on this game has been Reptile and how he's changed, and his Christmas skin is very, very cool that you can get at the moment still, I think. So whilst it's not the best Mortal Kombat game, maybe it's definitely a very fun one if you can pick it up cheaply, which I think you can now with all the sales and stuff. The other main PlayStation game I've been playing this year has been Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So going through all the extra things in that, I've nowhere near finished it yet. I will get to the end at some point, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it all concludes. I do know the ending because just generally pick those things up. I've been enjoying playing that and getting all the characters, going through all this expanded storyline and side quests has been fun. So I'd encourage you to get that as well, obviously with the remake one first of all, and playing the original one if you can. That's about it for PlayStation consoles for me, so I'll go on and mention the other games on the Switch that I'm playing, and then get into handheld stuff. On the Switch, one of the main games I play is a free one, so it's Super Kirby Clash or Team Kirby Clash Deluxe, I can't remember the proper title for it. It's a free Kirby game that you can go through and battle against opponents, and you can also ring a bell and recruit people online that help out. So if your friend gets to level 50 or whatever, they can help you out as an AI controlled ally. I played the one on the 3DS quite a lot, so this made sense to transition to that. As I say, it's free, you can make purchase if you want to, but there's absolutely no need to complete the whole game without spending a penny. And then the next one is an obvious one from my name, so it's Pokemon Violet is the one I've chosen to play mainly. I've not gone through all the DLC as yet, but I'm enjoying collecting all the Pokemon, doing all the little events, and I've enjoyed the storyline that I've played through so far. I do need to go through and catch Terapagos and complete the epilogue stuff, so I'll get there eventually, but I've not done that as yet. That's really my main two games this year on the Switch. There's been other ones like Mario Party and Jackbox I've played with other people, but not really for prolonged periods of time. So I'll get in now and talk about 3DS stuff. Before I start off talking about games I've played on my 3DS this year, I should highlight that my 3DS has been modified, so I can play games that aren't necessarily on the 3DS, such as PlayStation games, things like that. As the first one I'm going to cover is a PlayStation game, so Final Fantasy VII, the original one, I play on the 3DS quite a lot. I generally start a new game of Final Fantasy VII every year, and play through to wherever I get through for that year. This year I did get almost all the way to the end. I think I've gone to some fights with Ruby Weapon and stuff like that. And next year hopefully I'll finish it, but I'll have to see how it goes. Going on the 3DS, it's a bit more portable and easier to access than booting on my PlayStation every time and playing on there. Then I'm going to get all the Pokemon games out of the way because it's quite a lot. So at the moment I've been playing Pokemon White 2 a lot and reusing the Wi-Fi features on that to do the Magnemite trades that build up Join Avenue. To explain a bit more to people, there's a trading system where you can trade Pokemon globally with others online, and on that way people did something called the Magnemite coil, where you trade a Magnemite for a Magnemite because it's an easy Pokemon to pick up, and that boosted the visitors you got in a location where you could then get extra items. So people kind of use that quite a lot when the game was really active. It's still running a bit. I still do 2 or 3 trades of Magnemite a day on that game when I'm playing online. The next Pokemon game I'm also playing is Pokemon Ultra Moon, so I've completed that, got to the end of it. At the minute I'm just going through the wormholes trying to find shiny legendary Pokemon, and it's just a case of going back, waiting, seeing what I can find. It's a similar situation with Pokemon Omega Ruby, where I've got the Hooper holes on all the islands of the legendary Pokemon in. I've not actually completed the game in this run of Pokemon Omega Ruby. I'm about to go through the Pokemon League, so I need to do that and then do the extra story with Deoxys and stuff at the end. Then the next 2 Pokemon games I want to mention are free games on the 3DS. I don't think you can get them anymore, But Pokemon Shuffle is, I think it's essentially Candy Crush but Pokemon, but I've never played Candy Crush, where you match 3 symbols, do a puzzle, and then move on to the next stage. You can Mega Evolve your Pokemon to give you extra boosts. As I said, good fun for a free game. Then there's also Pokemon Rumble World, which is a free game. It did release also as a paid game that gives you some extras if you purchase that. This one is where you battle against wind-up toy Pokemon and try and collect them, get them extra moves, things like that. So again, it's a fun, free little thing. I wouldn't probably buy the paid version, but it's fun to just go through a couple of hours on it a week and see what Pokemon I collect. I recently did finish off the Pokedex in that one, so 719 Pokemon. Another game that's Pokemon themed is Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire that I remember playing on the Game Boy Advance, that I'm playing again on the 3DS at the moment. I'm okay at pinball games, so I can generally do all the tasks it needs me to and catch the Pokemon. I think it's a fun little way of doing it, and the bonus stages are fun when they rotate around, so you can get things like a Duskull stage where you've got to do something different, or the Kecleon stage where it goes invisible, you got to pick up the Sylph Scope. Then I think the final actual Pokemon game that I've been playing is Pokemon Green. So this came out in Japan. For those who don't know, in Japan, instead of Pokemon Red and Blue, it was Pokemon Red and Green. This is entirely in Japanese, so I don't know a lick of Japanese, but I know enough about Pokemon. I've played Pokemon Red and Blue and Yellow enough times to roughly know what's going on. So I know where Squirtle's moves are, when it'll learn Bubble Beam, and then what move to select and move things around on there. So even though I don't understand the text, I can still play, and it'd be nice to transfer some Japanese Pokemon into my main games. That's kind of my main aim of it, to go through and get everything I can and then transfer it to future games and then start over again. The next thing I want to mention playing is called Pokemon Jade and Pokemon Diamond on my 3DS, but it's not a Pokemon game. For those who were around during the kind of Game Boy Advance era of Pokemon might remember Pokemon Jade and Diamond of being like rip-off games that were actually a game called Telefang that were renamed and repackaged by scammers as a Pokemon game. They're very weird, to say the least. You call your Pokemon things, creatures, and they sometimes assist you, they're sometimes running late, and they can do bits on there. I have no idea where the story's going to go or how long they're actually going to say running for. I know people said they reached like kill screens in them previously, but I don't know if that was when they had dodgy versions, so I'll keep playing even though it's very weird and very poorly translated. 2 other monster raising games I want to cover now. So one of them is Jade Cocoon 1. That was the second one, I've never played it. In this game, you're the cocoon master of the village. You're going around capturing monsters in cocoons by playing your flute at them and attacking them with your other monsters. You can merge them together, which creates some grotesque looking things usually. And they have a thing of like fire, water, earth, air, with it being effective against each other, not very effective, so kind of the Pokemon rules, but then you can make ones that are earth and air, fire and water, and combine the attacks on there. There's status effects like poison. The game is fully voice acted, so that's a nice thing to see, and things change depending on which forest you're going in. So you've got like the spider forest, the beetle forest, and then there's a final dungeon at the end as well. It does also have an endless mode after you complete the game, where you can go through, as it says, endlessly, collect monsters, collect skins that change how your monsters look. It's something a bit different to general Pokemon style stuff, and if you really want to, you can just take weapons and attack monsters with them, but you don't get any XP for doing that, so it's not really worth doing. Then the second monster raising game is Monster Rancher 2. In the UK, it releases Monster Rancher 1, because we never got a Monster Rancher 1. In this game, you raise up monsters by using CDs. So you read the CD and create a monster from there. And you raise it up, go into battles, tournaments. It does eventually die or run away. And then you start over again with the monsters, so go through the same cycles. And you can go on it for in-game years and years. So again, something a bit interesting. Not really like Pokemon, but lots of monster battling and monster raising. One game that I do play a lot as well on 3DS is one that's pre-installed, so it's the Street Pass Mii Plaza games. So you go around in that and collect Mii's via Street Pass when you pass by another person that's got a 3DS, or use something like NetPass or Pretendo now. that populates your plaza with those players, and then you can play games with/against them. So something like Street Pass Gardener, they help grow your garden. In Street Pass Mansion, you're collecting puzzle pieces to construct floors and battle ghosts. And then in Street Pass Quest, you're going off to try and find the royals that have been kidnapped by monsters and using appropriate skills by colours that you've got on your Miis. I'm really hoping we get something similar on the Switch 2 or whatever it's called, that kind of Street Pass or Gathering Friends feature. Then I think the final one I've played this year is a game that I played on the PlayStation originally. So it's WWF SmackDown to Know Your Role. It is, as it says, a WWF WWE game where you create wrestlers, go through a season story mode. For me, it's just bringing back memories of when I watched those shows at that time and seeing similar wrestlers, seeing the storylines that crop up. It took a bit of getting used to with the 3DS controls differing from the PlayStation controls, but now I'm pretty decent at it. And I think I'm in the third year of this season at the moment as Chris Jericho, because like making people tap out doing the Walls of Jericho. I don't know if he's still wrestling in WWE anymore, maybe moved to AEW when lots of people seem to do that. I know in the UK WWE is coming on Netflix on the 1st of January, so I'll have to see if it's come up then and see if he's still wrestling. At that time, I've not really looked into it much beyond that. But that's it for the games that I'm playing / have played this year. I'll probably get a better list through for 2025 and compile them throughout the year rather than trying to remember what I played a few days before. Thank you for listening, agents. I'll get wrapped up and see you out. Hope you have a great day and happy hacking. Hey agents, this time I want to cover OPR and Wayfarer. So I know as part of the regular show I have a Wayfarer section generally at the end to cover Wayfarer related news on there. There is also the Wayspotters podcast that I'll link to where they talk about Wayfarer every week. So they'll have further updates than I do. So I just cover what's relevant for agents, whereas they'll go through things for Pokemon Go, Scanniverse wider than that. As mentioned, at the moment, this is called Niantic Wayfarer. It was previously called Operation Portal Recon when it was only open to Ingress agents. So that's agents that are now level 10 or higher, where previously there was a quiz to pass to demonstrate your knowledge of the candidate Wayspot criteria. At present, there's no quiz on it. There's just some onboarding that you go through to confirm you understand. And it is open to, as I said, agents level 10 or higher, as well as Pokemon Go players level 37 or higher, once passing that onboarding. That then allows you to create nominations and portals, Wayspots, Pokestops in your games by going to in Ingress, you go on your main screen, go to nominations and follow the steps on there. Then if you want to review the nominations other people have made, you go to the wayfarer.nianticlabs.com website and then you can sign in and review the Wayspots and edits, images, things people have made on there. For Ingress, there is a Recon medal that's awarded to agents participating in Wayfarer. As long as your rating is in either good or great, then the number of agreements count towards the medal. So an agreement is when there is a decision reached on a Wayspot, and if you vote the same way, so if it's accepted and you voted to accept it, then you'll get an agreement. If it's voted to be rejected and you vote to reject it, you'll get an agreement. But if it goes the other way, you won't get an agreement from that. For a bit of history, OPR was open to the public on the 25th of September 2017, so over 7 years ago now. And previously, before that, rating new poll submissions was done by Niantic staff only, and I think it was a side of desk kind of work, so they didn't come through that often. Then later on the 5th of June, they added edits, so you could also rate those. Again, those were previously done by Niantic staff. Then finally on the 10th of October 2019, OPR got renamed Niantic Wayfarer, and there was the contribution management system to see all your nominated Wayspots. Since then, there's been various updates, and you can now see all your edits, things like that, on the Wayfarer site. The current Wayfarer criteria is that whatever you're nominating should be either a great place for being social with others, a great place for exercise, or a great place for exploration, as well as not meeting any of the rejection criteria, such as being a school, obstructing emergency services, being a private residence, just to give a few. I will link to the original OPR candidate action guide, which was given to agents on Google+, but a version survives on the Wayfarer forums. Then just for my own background on it, I remember leveling up to the relevant level in Ingress, and I just got a new portal button on the screen, because what you had to do back then was hold down on the screen to where you want to make the new portal, and you get attach something else and then new portal with zero instruction on what was good, what was not, because at that time you only needed to pass the Wayfarer tester review. You could just create new portals at level 10, I think, at that time, and then reviewing was level 12. I always thought that should have been the other way around. They are both now locked at level 10 for both, and you do have to do the onboarding before you can nominate a portal, but it does explain why some things were off, not quite right. I will go over Wayfarer in more detail another time. I just wanted to go over it briefly on this one and say what was happening and what I remembered from it as well. Hey agents, for this festive special, I just want to talk a bit about something I've mentioned I would talk about at some point, of why I decided to start doing an Ingress podcast. So when I've been playing Ingress alongside Pokemon Go and the other games I play, I've looked on various podcast services and seen there's a lot of Pokemon Go podcasts. There's like GoCast, Load Up, various other ones. There's obviously things like Super Effective that are just a Pokemon podcast, mentioned Pokemon Go news. And then on the flip side of that, there weren't a lot of Ingress podcasts I could find. So I looked up podcasts before. I listened to a few like Agent Academy, which stopped doing episodes in 2022 and didn't have a consistent release schedule really. And there was also Prime Tips, which is another good one that I listened to as well, but again, I think the last episode of that was also some time ago. Yes, the last episode of Prime Tips was the 20th of January, though they have done 103 episodes. That's quite an achievement. So for a while I kind of thought, I should find someone else to do it with, because Ingress isn't very well represented, even in things like Wayspotters. They do cover Wayfarer news. Sometimes some stuff comes up about Pokemon Go, but very rarely is Ingress mentioned. I know in that show they mention going off to like Pokemon Go Fest and those big Pokemon events, but don't really mention Anomalous going off to those events or anything to do with Ingress. It's mainly Pokemon that comes up in that, even though Wayfarer is for Pokemon Go and Ingress. So for a little while I was looking around thinking, I should have a co-host, because there's co-hosts in other shows like Agent Academy, like Wayspotters. Then I decided, well, screw it, I'll just do it myself, sit myself down in front of a microphone and see what comes out, what I can cover, what I can think of. And now I'm here almost like 7,000 plays later, going from like 50 listens and stuff like that at the start, which didn't seem like a lot, but obviously the Ingress audience is a bit smaller than the Pokemon Go audience, just as a comparison. I started off just recording on a little like cheap £20 microphone I bought. I've now upgraded to one that's a bit more expensive and got a decent little setup. I've had a few guests on, which has been great to talk about Peridot and Harry Potter's Unite, things like that. I've been trying for quite a while to speak to like people involved in Ingress, like Brian and Thea. Maybe that'll happen in 2025. But for now, my setup's just having the decent microphone, having headphones, so I'm kind of zoned into what I'm listening to, and continuing to cover Ingress-related news every week. So hope you've enjoyed the little Christmas episodes. The last one is going to be releasing on the 1st of January, just as a like kind of reintroduction. But I just want to cover off kind of why I started the podcast, and I'll cover what I plan to do with it in the future in the next episode. So thank you for listening to this little short, and then hope you listen and continue listening in 2025. Happy hacking agents. Have a great day. Hello agents, welcome to the reintroduction of the Ingress Insights podcast, as we're starting off season 3. In Ingress Insights, we cover all the latest anomaly news, Ingress news and rumours, as well as anything related to Wayfarers, what's happening with your portals and things like that. If you are a new agent and there's any features you want me to cover and go through in more detail, such as learning what a portal tracker is, what exactly battle beacons do, please do use the social media links to contact me and let me know there. And you can also leave us voice messages and anything you want to for the show. In this kind of reintroduction, I just want to run over a few things. So, as I mentioned, the Ingress news will cover any official news, anything that's seen on various channels such as Ingress Updates, ENG, the RGGN ticker, who are looking for new writers at the moment for their channel. I'll share a link to that on there, and you can apply if you are part of the Resistance. I'll also cover any news related to anomalies. So for Q1, we've got the Plus Alpha Anomaly series that we're waiting for details of. And then anything that comes as a result of the previous Memory series, I'll cover on here as well. Finally, to give a bit more detail, the Wayfarer news will cover any announcements that come from the Wayfarer community forum, such as from Niantic Tintina and Niantic Thibs. It will also cover things about power spots in Pokemon Go if they are relevant to Ingress agents. In addition to all of that, the usual 3-segment show, I'll go over any interviews I've got scheduled. So these may be with people in the game industry that aren't necessarily to do with Ingress as part of Inverse Insights. I'll also have some more interviews with agents coming up this year, as well as planning out some video podcasts. So doing kind of a let's watch of Ingress the animation once I figure out OBS and things like that. So hope you look forward to all of those. If you have any ideas, please do let me know. As I said, click on the social media links. You'll be able to send me messages on there and I can respond back to you. It's just a one-man show on this, just me editing, recording everything on here. So if I do take some time to get back to you, don't panic. I hope you're looking forward to 2025 of Ingress Insights as much as I am and seeing what Ingress brings in the new year. Hope you all have a great day and you've had a great start to 2025. Happy hacking agents. Have a fantastic day. Thank you, agents, for listening to the latest episode of the Ingress Insights podcast. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do that on a few channels. So on Threads under the name ingress.insights, on Instagram under the name ingress.insights as well. Twitter/X, which posts episodes of the podcast, is under Ingress Insights, no dot in that one. And you can also watch these episodes on YouTube under Ingress Insights Podcast. You can send us a voice message by visiting the podcaster's Spotify page. And finally, you can buy Ingress Insights merch, such as mugs, pins, t-shirts, by going to freepublic.com/user/ingress-insights. And on there, you'll see all the designs that we've got listed at the moment. There are some new ones that will be coming up at some point soon, but you can buy your Ingress Insights mug, hats, t-shirts, tote bags, anything like that you want. Thank you again for listening. Hope you tune in next week. If you do like the show, please do rate it on the podcast service you're listening to. I look forward to speaking with you all about Ingress again.
Intel package transferred.